Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Sulk stream. I hope you guys are having a good evening. I am your host, the Incredible Sulk. I hope you guys are good. I hope you guys are feeling chill and styling and making waves or not making waves or doing whatever you decide to do today or not decide to do today. That's how complicated life is. That's how complicated life is. Doesn't matter what decisions you make. It could. It could not. If you think it does, then it probably does. If you don't think it does, it still probably does. I don't know. I'm not a philosopher. I do my best, but then I just get myself into these cyclical thoughts, and I go nowhere. I go nowhere. I just give myself anxiety, and then I curl up in bed, and I can't handle it. I just can't handle it. I break down. Hopefully you guys don't, though. Hopefully you guys don't. Tonight we're talking about kids. Kids. Children. Chirwin, as the Africans say, the Chirwins. Yeah. There's an entire, what do you want to call it? There's propaganda out there telling people that having kids is too hard and it'll give you financial stressors and it's not worth it and it won't make you happy. You won't be happy with kids. That's the worst thing you could possibly do. That's the worst financial decision you could ever make, is having kids. Is it, though? Is it? I guess we will come to find out. We will watch this documentary and we will find out whether it is actually the worst financial decision. A lot of people don't think of all the relative things. When you have kids, there's a lot of opportunities that open up that people don't really understand when you don't have kids, right? Especially if you're getting fed this propaganda. From a young age, young girls are told not to have kids. Have plenty of sex, but not kids. You get birth control and condoms and other prophylactics and stuff like that. Being a whore is fine. Being a whore is absolutely fine. It's encouraged, right? But having children and having a family and creating that nuclear unit is somehow the worst decision of your life. Teaching kids in high school that you want to ruin your life, you have kids. I remember hearing it, right? Pretending everyone was going to be a doctor and a lawyer and stuff like that, when most people are not capable of that. Most women are not capable of that. But you gas these chicks up and you're like, you don't have to have kids. You can be a boss babe. And they don't realize they got tricked until decades later, which is really the sad part. So they go around the world whoring themselves out to random men and think that's fulfillment. It's not always about happiness. It's about fulfillment. Are you doing your part? Are you doing your best? Are you building a society for the future? Are you going to be a part of it? In some genetic way, in some sociological way, is your name going to be on a building? Probably not. Probably not. This is your connection to the future. Your children are your connection to the future. Most of the time. Some people do make lots of money. And, like Carnegie or something like that. Put your name on a bunch of libraries and colleges and stuff. That's great. That's fantastic. But nobody knows who the fuck Carnegie is. They just think that's the name of the building. No, he was a guy. He was a really rich dude. A lot of people don't know that. But his kids do. But there's a bunch of propaganda telling people not to have kids. The worst idea you could possibly have. It'll financially ruin you. It'll make you miserable. And Vox has done a video that we will be reviewing tonight that says that point right there. Vox. Oh my God. Terrible, terrible Vox. So we're going to hop on in, right? So I hope you guys are ready. I hope you guys are set, and I hope you guys are taking notes and prepared for whatever outcome happens to come. So get comfy, get cozy, get a nice bottle of shampoo or something. I'm running out of liquors, honestly. And if I'm drinking shampoo, times be tough. Sterno, I don't know, isopropyl rubbing alcohol, just to blind myself, right? You know, I see a lot of internet throughout the day. Maybe just drinking straight up rubbing alcohol wouldn't be the worst idea. If it blinds me, I see that as a net positive, right? I already know my wife is attractive. That's all I need. The memory. Anyways, guys, if you're working, keep working. If you're driving, keep driving. Don't drink too much shampoo. Yeah. And let's just hop on in. Well, that was weird. Sorry. I'm the Incredible Sulk. This is the Sulk Stream. And this is called How Feminism Teaches Women to Be Undesirable to Men. I know, shocking, right? Enjoy.
How did you decide whether or not you wanted to have kids?
I grew up thinking I would become a mom because I didn't know that I could choose not to be.
Especially like factoring in everything that's happening in the background, including climate change. Is this the kind of world that I want to bring?
Climate change. Oh, is that still rocking? Climate change. Climate change is bullshit. And I'm not saying like the climate isn't changing, because obviously the climate always changes. We go through ice ages and like hot ages. That's just what the planet Earth does. So yeah, we're still coming out of the last ice age, which was like 10,000 years ago. So we are about to hit the crescendo, the precipice of we're still on the warming trend, right? But they use this as too many people are using too much stuff and it's warming the planet up. No, that's nonsense. It's completely untrue. But they're using it as a political tool to say, there's too many of you, start killing yourselves off, right? This entire thing is a depopulation agenda. Okay, so, and they use it as a political tool. They say the world is heating up, so that means you get to use less water. We get to charge more for gasoline, right? But it's basically just us. China's not doing the same thing. They're bringing on new coal plants every week or something like that. So don't listen to any of that. You're going to be taxed for it, right? You're going to be taxed, but don't like take short showers or anything like that, because that's all nonsense. It's complete nonsense, and they're just trying to get you to use less. Meanwhile, they're flying around on their like private jets, 2 private jets, right? One just to follow their main jet around. They don't give a shit about saving fuel or saving the environment in any way. No, they want to get rid of you. You are the problem, right? Technology is coming down the line where they're not going to need a bunch of grunt laborers. During the Industrial Revolution, they needed factory workers. They needed housekeepers. They needed people to mow their lawns and pick their crops and stuff like that. We're getting into a point of technology where they're not going to need all of those people. So why have them on the planet when you don't need them? This is how insanely rich people think, right? When you have a certain amount of money and making more money is just basically pointless, what else do you want? Well, you want the entire planet. But you can't have the entire planet if there's a bunch of people like this on it. So it's all a depopulation scheme. And that's exactly what this is. This is just another piece of that puzzle.
Bring my child into.
Literally had people upset.
Background
at the
noise.
fact that I don't want to have
Ardenshire.
children.
Despite
All
what
right,
you've heard.
so what's left?
Strawberry?
Women think that doing housework and knowing how to cook is disgraceful.
Oh, yeah, it's this guy again. Whatever. I'm looking through his videos. He's got good videos.
Women say it's offensive for a man to want someone he is physically attracted to, even though women will not.
You're a bigot. If you want somebody that's, not 45 and like looks good and like takes care of herself. No, you need a ham beast, right? With bad skin who bitches at you constantly. Otherwise, you're just a chauvinist bigot. Fine, call me that. People don't give a shit about being called names anymore. I feel like there was a time where like, oh, that guy's a racist, right? And it actually meant something. And they'd be like, no, I'm not being racist. I just happen to point out certain things about a certain group. And they're like, oh, you're a racist. And it's just over. Now people don't care about that. People are like, okay, yeah, I'm pretty racist, right? Now they're wearing it as a badge of honor, which fantastic. I'm glad, because it means they're kind of breaking that that hold. It's amazing how people don't want to be called racist, or did not want to be called racist. That's pretty much over. I feel like people have had it, and people don't care about being called racist or a bigot or a chauvinist or anything like that. The pendulum is swinging back, and it's swinging back pretty hard. So it's going to be a fun decade, guys.
Not dating men they aren't physically attracted to. Women have stopped acting feminine and started acting like men. Oh, and one last thing. Now that we've used feminism to remove all the things about women that men like, let's use feminism to convince women to not have kids, which currently is the only reason for men to get married.
He's kind of right, but there's other reasons. I mean, it's your duty as a man to get married. I'm just going to go ahead and say that right now. You can't just go around your entire life chasing strange. I'm sure that sounds fun, and it would probably be fun, but that's not fulfilling. That's not how you build society. That's very selfish of you, right? You're here. How did you get here? Were your parents not married? If so, it probably made you a dickhead. And if your parents weren't married, don't take any of this personally. But if you're chasing tail, if you're going around hitting on 20-year-olds at the bar and you're like 65 or something like that, you're a dickhead. You're a fucking dickhead. What do you want? I mean, obviously. Arden Share says the entire world population could fit in the main island of Hawaii with 3 meters of space. 3 meters, huh? There's not a population issue. I'm honestly suspicious of if there's really 8 billion people. We know that the population boom of the early 1800s is a lie by now. Yeah, we don't know if there's 8 billion people. If you live in the city and you never left the city your entire life, you might be like, yeah, okay, I believe you, 8 billion people. There's a lot of people here. So why isn't the entire world like that? If you go outside the city and just drive for a couple of hours, there's no one out there. There's nobody out there. There's nobody out there, right? There's no cell phone service. There's nothing out there. And then you're all like, where are all the people and stuff like that? They're not there. They're not there. Maybe we shouldn't believe these numbers that they keep feeding us, because I kind of doubt that they're real at all. At all. At all. Like, not even close. Like inflation calculators, I don't believe those one bit. So is there 8 billion people on the planet? How can we be sure? Oh, because the World Health Organization told us so. Oh, okay. Well, that makes me believe it. Not at all. The WEF has their hand in it. Okay. Well, now I completely don't believe it. Yeah, I don't believe these people. They have an agenda. They're trying to fulfill an agenda. And they're trying to take control of the world. Right? And the only way they can do that is less people. Less people like you. Like the people that watch this show. They're trying to kill off my cult. That's what they're trying to do. And I can't have that. I can't have that. That's my job.
Because make no mistake, that's exactly what this documentary is about. Convincing women to not have kids. Oh wait, they put one guy in there who doesn't want kids. There he is. Okay.
The black guy? Okay, yeah, obviously. Because that's a bill for a black guy. They don't stick around and like father their kids. So what? The black guy doesn't want kids. That doesn't say anything to me. They don't get married anyway. They try to have as much sex as possible and reproduce as much as possible to get their genetics into the future. There's two reproductive strategies. There's R selection and then there's K selection. And I forget which one is which. But one is a shotgun approach where you try to have as many offspring as possible, right? And then let them go. Some of them are going to die. Some of them are going to succeed. And that's how you get your genetics into the future, like rabbits, right? And then there's, I think the other one is K selection, where you have a small number of children and then devote a lot of energy into those children to make them the best specimens you possibly can. So black people are typically R selected and white people are typically K selected. I'm not saying that's exclusively, one or the other, because there's a lot of white people that practice that, and there's some black people who stick around and father their kids. But in general, that's the reproductive strategy of those races. Yeah, so him not wanting to have kids is not a surprise to me. That's just him not wanting to pay for kids.
Go away now. You were just there for plausible deniability. Back to telling women to not have kids.
There is a huge cultural myth that kids are going to bring nothing but joy to your life. And
cultural myth. I'm sorry. You're here, right? She's here, right? We're all here. So, I mean, isn't that... How far back does this cultural myth go? Does it go back for eternity or from the dawn of time when people didn't want to have kids, but there was some sort of cultural myth, right? Like the fish that were having sex, there's a culture about it. And they're all like, well, we didn't want to have fish kids, but we're going to have fish kids because, we don't want people to look down on us for not having fish kids. This is a stupid argument right off the bat. Right off the bat, this is a stupid argument. There's a biological imperative to put your genes into the future, as far into the future as possible, and as much as possible. How many kids did Genghis Khan have? Like a third of Asia is related to Genghis Khan. Do you think he gave a shit about cultural imperatives, cultural myths? No.
I think that leads a lot of parents going in with maybe the wrong expectation.
See how bad it is to have kids? People have lied to you your whole life.
Background noise says I'm an accident. Yeah, I agree.
We got this expert on to say that having kids sucks.
Since about the 1960s, we've had pretty clear evidence that being a parent doesn't make you happier than not having children.
This is Dr. Jennifer Glass. She did this study here. I actually read it, and it contains some very interesting
Happiness. It doesn't make you happier. What does that mean? So there's not supposed to be struggle in your life. Everything is supposed to be fucking straight up easy. And you're supposed to be smiling and happy all the time. Doesn't that sound boring? Doesn't that sound like you're going to turn into like a drug addict or something like that? If there's no challenge whatsoever in your life, you descend into hedonism, right? And then you have no sort of like legacy to leave behind. You have nothing to work for. People that do have kids want society to stick together for the sake of their kids. They want their kids to live in a society, right? If they don't have kids, they don't give a shit about society. So they will actively burn that shit to the ground. So somebody needs to be having kids. Otherwise, no one's going to be here. They push this agenda on poor people or poorer people. But rich people aren't having less kids. They still have plenty of kids. There's 5, 6, 10 kids that they don't care. They can afford them. Kids are insanely expensive, by the way. They're expensive. There's no getting around that. And they're probably just getting more expensive. I think it's like 17 grand a year per kid on average up until the age of, maybe it's like 13 grand. Up until the age of 17 or 18, not including college, it's like 300 grand to raise a kid. on average, which is a lot of money. That's a lot of money. That's going to set you back no matter what. But it's still worth it. And not because it's going to make you happier, right? It will in the long run. It will. But in the day to day, you're going to be kind of stressed. You're going to be like, how am I going to make it? How are we going to feed these kids? How are we going to clothe these kids? What if something happens to one of them? They're going to need an operation or something like that. It fills you with worry and angst and stuff like that. And people are like, oh, I don't want that. I want to enjoy my life and live my life and eat, pray, love, and get drunk all the time and travel the world and be a whore. Do you? Do you? Because the people who did that in previous generations, their kids aren't around. Your parents did not. Their parents did not. And you're here. You're going to just end all that because you want to be a whore? You have a responsibility to move your genes into the future just for the sake of your ancestors. A lot of people are like, no, I want to live selfishly. Okay, fine. Live selfishly. You seem like an asshole, but okay.
Information. Let's get into it. But first, if you like the content you see on this channel, then consider making a donation. Viewer support helps keep me independent, and it helps fund the channel. Links to my PayPal, Patreon, and Subscribestar pages can all be found in the...
Strawberry says, bullshit, being a parent is fucking awesome. I'm a parent. I have 2 boys, right? They're young. They're 8 months, and the older one is almost 4. So it's tough, right? It's loud. You don't get a lot of breaks. It's fun. It's a lot of fun, but it is tough, right? But we just kind of started. I'm just saying that because I already have kids. So that's the point of view I'm coming from. So maybe you don't have kids. Strawberry has kids. A lot of you have kids. It's important to do. It's just a part of life. You have to do it. You will get to an age, especially if you're a woman, where your biological clock is going to be like, what the fuck did you do? We know people like that. We know people pushing 35 or something like that with no prospects, no kids or anything like that. And they're starting to sweat. They're starting to sweat. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Yeah.
The description. And also, don't forget to support me on Alt Tech. Links to my Odyssey channel and my Minds page can be found in the description as well. Alright, these clips come from one of the latest pieces from Vox's Glad You Asked, called Do I Want Kids? It follows our host Cleo as she questions whether or not she wants to have kids, while Vox feeds everyone a bunch of negative propaganda about why having kids is awful. Literally. They almost exclusively use negative examples, and don't really take any arguments from the other side, even though they make it look like they are being fair by including a word or two from people who say that having kids was a good experience.
But if we asked parents, have your children made you happy? They would all say yes. I would say yes. Everybody I know would say yes. But what their children...
So I got in a fight with a lady on Twitter that said, you could be a cat lady and still have a fulfilling life, later on. And I was like, yeah, okay, that is technically true, but that's not the common experience. Most cat ladies are miserable and they die alone and they're eaten by cats. They become alcoholics. They're bitter. They're old. They're not wanted. A lot of young women think they're going to be pretty forever. They think they're going to be hot forever. And that only because they've been attractive as far as, they've been adults, right? That's the only real experience they've had. So when they get to an age where they're not exactly wanted anymore, they're very confused. And then they're like, where have all the good men gone? They were back in your 20s, and then you could have done something, but you didn't. You just didn't. And now you're like, oh, I decided not to have kids because it was my decision. I didn't want a family. I wanted to live my life and be a hotshot Ally McBeal lawyer. That's what you wanted to do? Okay. Well, then why are you so miserable? Why do you go home and cry yourself to sleep at night? Every night. And then you want a man? No man wants you. You're used up. That's it. You have nothing to carry you through for the next, 4 decades? 5 decades? Women live a long time. They really do live a long time. What are you going to do? You're going to be alone for 5 decades? No one's going to want to hang out with you. Maybe some other old spinsters that you're going to end up hating, but then you're just going to form some sort of weird coven. And that's how you're going to live the rest of your life? Okay. I guess. I mean, it's been done.
Have brought into their lives in many ways is anxiety, stress, and financial trouble that they would not have experienced.
See,
Despite what you've heard, it says a lot of old cat ladies are widows. Okay, yeah, that's fair, right? But I don't consider a widow with like kids a cat lady. I mean, if she's a widow and she didn't have kids, then yeah, she's probably a cat lady. But if she had kids, I don't consider people with kids cat ladies. You know what I mean?
I thought I was happy, but let me tell you how misguided I was after doing my research. Now, for those of you who have decided that you don't want to have kids, this is not about you. This is about Vox taking women who do want to have kids and making them not want to have kids. From a man's perspective, this is, again, literally the only reason to get married anymore, and feminism is trying to destroy that. Let's take a look at the research that Vox brings up. This data comes from a survey done across multiple countries about happiness, comparing people who are parents and people who aren't parents. Here's what they found.
Out of the 20 countries that we studied, the United States had the largest gap where parents report that they're significantly less happy than non-parents.
How do you ask survey questions that get at this?
We're not asking people, are you happy you had kids? We're asking people, are you happy? And just asking them to rate their own level of happiness.
It's not just the United States. We see the happiness gap in all of these countries too.
Okay. Well, yeah, on a day-to-day basis, it's much easier I mean, you have extra money to go out to bars and stuff like that, but I mean, that gets very empty. That's shallow. It's boring. It's boring, especially when you're more successful in your career. When you become more successful in your career, you run out of challenges, and kids are a challenge. They are a challenge, and they keep life interesting. What are you going to do when you have conquered the mountains and stuff? A lot of people spend their time, like the childless people I know, spend their time going to like theme parks or running 5Ks and you know, some of them do charity work and stuff, and that's great. That's great. But you just try to fill up your schedule as much as possible, and it's kind of desperate. Look, I know people, not everybody has kids. There is a problem with fertility in the country. There's low testosterone rates among men. If you took the, what's that shot? The HPV shot, there's a good chance that you're infertile. You're just infertile. Because that's probably what it was designed to do. It was pushed a lot back in like 2000, the early 2000s, like 2008 and stuff like that. And a lot of girls got it. And yeah, a lot of them became infertile. That was not an accident. That was not an accident. That was depopulation right there. And yeah. So, I mean, if you can't have kids, I'm not blaming you. I'm not blaming you because you can't have kids and stuff like that. Even if you tried, that sucks, dude. That sucks. But for people that can and then choose not to, I think that's irresponsible. I think it's short-sighted. I think it's you failing your main purpose. If you tried and you can't do it, keep trying. Keep trying. But at that point, it's not your fault. You know, it's not your fault. But a lot of people out there do everything they can not to have kids because they've been scared their entire life that having kids is going to destroy their life. But it might be the only thing that actually gives you meaning. And then you grow old and then you're like, I have no meaning in my life. And then you try to fill it with like pleasures and getting drunk. And then, you know, nothing fills it enough. So you start getting into like cocaine and heroin and stuff like that. And then you just go down the deep end. You have no real reason. And then people are like, oh, we'll just adopt and stuff like that. Adoption is complicated. Adoption is complicated. If you want a white baby, you can't because they're going to the gay couples, right? That's not an accident either. That's not an accident either. Because those gay couples fuck those kids up in very tragic ways. And that sucks, dude. And who's to say, people have adopted kids and they grew up and they love their adopted parents and stuff like that. I personally would not adopt, but that's a personal issue of mine. I want my kids to like look like me and act like me. I don't want to run the risk that I get one that's just not compatible. Even though you can have your own natural kids and they won't be compatible. They can be little dickheads. Trust me and my dad don't exactly get along. We don't exactly see eye to eye, but I am his biological son. I guess that's just up to you. But people like Angelina Jolie and Megan Fox and stuff like that, adopting, you know, one from every continent. They're not your kids, dude. You just have a zoo. And then you put them in tutus and stuff and call them gay. And they're like, I am not gay. You make me gay. Right? And they're mad about it. They probably don't even speak English yet. And then they're like, you are gay. I am making you gay because it makes me feel special. It gives me social points to have a little gay black kid. Right? I stole you from a village in Africa. We put you on the Amistad and then I bought you. That's exactly what it is. It's slavery. You adopt a kid from like some Central African tribe or something. And then you make him wear a tutu and parade him up and down Hollywood Boulevard like you're a good person. Dude, you're going to hell. You're going straight to hell, dude. I mean, how is that not... How would you not think you're going immediately to hell? You know that kid's not gay. You know that kid's not trans. You just decided to cut his wiener off, right? And he was like, no. As he like blacked out, right? You put the thing over his face. He's like, no, I would like to keep my wiener. Ugh. And then he wakes up and he doesn't have a wiener anymore. And then you congratulate him for being so strong and brave. And then she gets congratulated for being so strong and brave and having a transgendered African child. Wow. These people need to burn. Like how you would burn a witch. Like on a pyre, you know, tied to a stake. The whole thing. The whole ass thing. I don't see how that's any different from any other type of abuse. I mean, great, you have multicultural kids. You know what you have in your house? Nothing but fighting. Nothing but different countries going to war. At a smaller scale, sure, but they ain't gonna get along. It's just like America. Nobody likes each other. There's no social cohesion in the United States because it's just, oh, the Mexicans over here, and then the Guatemalans, and then the Africans, and then the Chinese, and the Koreans, and stuff like that. They look pretty similar, but they fucking hate each other. The same issue is going to happen in your house. You don't realize it. And it honestly might not happen, but it's probably going to happen. Especially if you make half your kids gay, and the other half trans. And then everyone's confused. We don't know who to fuck. We don't know who we're getting fucked by. Do I kill this one because he's a Hutu? This guy's a Tutsi over here. You know, there's an old school rivalry going on. Why do you have to overcomplicate it so much for social points? What's that called? Munchausen by proxy syndrome. When you make a kid sick just so you get praise from other and sympathy from other adults. Oh, I'm so sorry your kid has that disorder where they, are born a girl, but they're actually a guy. And now we pat you on the back. Charlize Theron doesn't love those kids. I doubt she even likes them. We see pictures of her dragging those kids through parking lots and they're fighting to the death. They're wearing pink tutus. It's a boy. He's wearing a tutu. He's fighting to the death not to be put in this Bentley because he knows when he gets home, Charlize is going to be shoving puberty blockers down his throat, right? No one's stopping this. No one's like, hey, bitch, leave those kids alone. We should.
As I said, I went out and purchased the study and read through it. Here's something I found that was interesting right from the introduction. It's referring to parents being less well off.
Strawberry says, my doc tried to give me the HPV vax when I was like 18, and I said, no, glad I did. Yeah, it's a huge, huge thing. The HPV vaccine might be the most damaging vaccine that they have ever pushed on the population, and it's caused a lot of issues. A lot of infertility, who knows what else. I mean, it's just caused a lot of issues. And it's sad. It sucks.
Emotionally than non-parents. It says, this pattern first emerged in the 1970s, a period marked by significant social and economic changes, including the decline in men's earnings, the increase in women's employment, and the rise of both dual-earner and single-parent families. Isn't that interesting? These are all changes that resulted from feminism, and we have a study.
Ric Flair says, what the fuck is even the HPV vaccine? It's human papilloma virus. It's the virus that gives you warts, but it's not. They say later on it could give you cervical cancer, but that's not true. I mean, maybe in a roundabout way it's true, but the HPV vaccine causes way more damage and probably a lot more cancer than the actual HPV virus caused in people. Most people have HPV. I'm pretty sure. It's just something that people live with. But no, it was a reason to give people a vaccine. That's what HPV is. That's it. It's just a reason for people to get a vaccine, and it really doesn't cause any harm or damage or anything like that. And who knows, it might be beneficial to the human immunology. We don't know. We don't know that much about medical science. We think we're a lot more advanced than those like 1500s doctors who put like leeches on people and like did voodoo dances and stuff. And we look at them, we're like, oh, we know so much more than them. Really? Are you sure? Are you 100% sure that we know so much more? Are you absolutely positive? Because not that long ago, people said the appendix did nothing. And then recently, they're all like, oh, yeah, it turns out it actually does do something. And it's pretty important. How often is that going to happen? Maybe you should stop fucking with stuff. Maybe you should just leave well enough alone. All right? We evolved to be the way we are for a reason. You don't start taking bits and pieces. This is why I'm firmly against circumcision, too. How do you know that thing doesn't do anything? I want my foreskin back. Who can I sue to get my foreskin back? They didn't give it to me. It would be on a necklace around right here. It'd be right here, right between my tiny nipples. My foreskin would be right there. Assuming they couldn't reattach it, which I kind of doubt they'd be able to. But I want my foreskin back. That's it. I just want my foreskin back, man. That's all I want. My kids have their foreskins because I was like, dude, that's yours. I'm not going to take that from you, right? If you want to chop that shit off later when you get older, I'm going to call you weird, but that's your thing, right? No, my parents are all like, he's not going to need this. And then lopped it off and I don't know, hucked it out a window and watched it slide down or something. I don't know what they did. No, that's not true. I think they actually collect all those foreskins and then sell them to like beauty companies, and then they blend them into like face creams for like rich Hollywood elites because it's got like stem cells, and then they rub it on their face and they're like, I can stay young forever with baby penis on me. That's like witchcraft. That's like straight up witchcraft. You know, why would you even want to do that? Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to rub baby penis on your face? You know, that's weird, right? That's weird. Oh, but you adopt little African kids and make them wear skirts and stuff like that and shove puberty blockers down their throat. So I don't think your concept of weird is, you know, not weird. The world is a crazy place. The world is a crazy place. I'm going to drink rubbing alcohol just to blind myself. I don't know how to deafen myself. Otherwise, I don't know. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. Then I'll just be Helen Keller up here. I won't know if I'm muted.
Studies saying it's making people less happy. Thanks, Vox, for showing a study that says that people are happier in two-parent homes.
Despite what you've heard says, I don't miss mine. Uncircumcised dicks look gross. How do you even know? Like, I mean, dude, who has an opinion on another man's dick? Like, if you don't want your, you know, if you don't miss yours, then by all means, I'm not going to tell you not to miss your foreskin. But I would have liked to at least gotten to know mine. You know, we were together for like 9 months, and then we parted ways. That was it. We parted ways. And I'm like, no, wait, I was like using that, or I wasn't using it yet, but I had big plans for it. I had big plans for it. We were going to go the long distance together. Me and my foreskin buddy. You know, now it's on some rich old lady's face, which is kind of worth it because I think that's hilarious. I hope she was allergic to it. I don't know how she would be, but I hope she like rubbed it on her face and she was all like, oh, something, I'm having a bad reaction to this kid's wiener. I'm like, yeah. You know what? It would have ended up on some old lady's face anyway, so whatever.
Where one parent works and one parent stays home with the kids. The rest of this paper is a dismal failure that talks about why we need socialism instead of, hey, why don't we just...
Background noise says, no, they dry them out, grind them into a fine powder, and season barbecue chips with them. I hope not. I like barbecue chips.
Go back to what people were doing when they were happier. It seems super obvious.
Strawberry says, I have seen one with a foreskin. It's fine either way to me. I assume Strawberry's a girl. But it wasn't weird. It wasn't weird to have a foreskin before. Even if you go to any other country, it's weird if you don't have a foreskin. Except for like Israel. But Israel and America, we don't have foreskins here. That's a weird thing. Most other places have foreskins. So if you don't have a foreskin, you're like the odd man out. I don't know why I didn't get like, why couldn't I choose, dude? It's my fucking foreskin, dude. It's my fucking foreskin. I just like, I would have liked to keep it. I had wisdom teeth too that they pulled out when I was a little older. I should have asked to keep those. I just don't know why they keep needing to take parts from me. You know, they're my parts. I would like to keep my parts. By the way, if you are an organ donor, like on your license or something like that, don't do that. Don't do that. I know the rumor that like, oh, they're not going to, you know, try their best to save you if you're an organ donor. And a lot of people say that's not true. Of course, that's not true. I think that's 100% true. If you have a rare type of organ that a billionaire needs and you happen to be an organ donor, they're going to be like, oopsie doodle, this one died, right? And then we have this, your heart goes to this billionaire that bought this hospital another wing on the building. In general, they probably will try to save you. Maybe not now, because I think they're actively trying to kill people, especially in hospitals. But there is that chance. where you have that rare organ, that rare blood type, where they're like, your kidneys are actually worth quite a bit. Not just some regular Filipino kidneys. You have like the good kidneys. Then you're probably going to die. If that's not true, then so be it. Then so be it. I still want to keep my organs, right? I'm sorry. I will keep my organs, and some little kid is going to die because he couldn't get a heart or something like that. I'm sorry, little kid. Your time is my time. We're going out together. Is that selfish? Yeah. I'm sorry. I don't care. They're my organs too. I mean, they are strictly my organs. I'm keeping my organs. All of them. Every one of them. I don't need to sell them. I'm going to hang on to them. I've already lost a few. Right? My foreskin. I hope you're out there living a better life, little buddy.
I mean, look how sexist this study is. It says here, moreover, the costs of children in the United States are increasingly borne by mothers, with recent estimates showing 4 in 10 households with children are supported solely or primarily by mothers' earnings. Okay, but doesn't that also mean that children in 60% of households, which is the majority, are being primarily or solely supported by men? Men are carrying the majority of the financial load, but somehow that's oppressive to women? What? If you don't like the fact that women are now paying more for childcare, then you can thank feminism. How many of those households where children are primarily supported by women are like that because they are single mother households? Feminism has been promoting and incentivizing single motherhood for decades now. Also, in the likely much smaller demographic where women are the breadwinners in a 2-parent household, isn't this a good thing? That most likely means that she is paying more money because she earns more money than the man. These people are literally complaining about the end result of what they fought for decades. You don't just get to reap all the benefits with none of the costs.
Yeah, he's right. I know this is a sensitive subject for a lot of people because there's single mothers out there. And I know some people who watch this show are single moms, and I'm not saying it's tough. It's tough, right? It's tough, and maybe you did the best you can, and then it just didn't work out, and blah blah blah, and blah blah blah. But I understand that this is a sensitive subject for some people, and I'm not saying everything is automatically your fault, but there are societal pressures that force people, or at least condition people, to think that being a single mother is not as bad as staying in a relationship with somebody. If you're in a relationship with somebody that was a heroin addict or something like that, and then you got pregnant by that person, I feel like that's your fault. I feel like that's like completely your fault. How is that not completely your fault? Oh, it's not your fault because you're the woman. And for some reason, accountability in women it's like oil and water. I don't know how you get knocked up by somebody and then just be like, well, it's not my fault. How? How is that not your fault? And don't be like I got raped, all right? Because nobody believes that. I'm sorry. It's, they say like everyone's getting raped all the time, and I'm not seeing it. I'm just not seeing it, right? Every time this argument with abortion comes up, people are like, oh, what about rape? Rape happens every single day to every single person ever. How is it so hard not to get raped? Is it really that difficult not to go out and get raped all the time? Is it? Wouldn't you be a lot more worried about like getting AIDS or something? Or like, I don't know, murdered? How are you getting raped constantly? Why don't you use a gun? Why don't you use a million other things at your disposal not to get raped, or at least not have an abortion, or not get pregnant from a raping? I just don't see where all this rape is coming from. It's not sub-Saharan Africa, okay? People aren't getting raped every single day like that. Unless you're in the ghetto, which is people from sub-Saharan Africa. So stop hanging out with those people. Okay? I just don't really every time you hear that argument, it comes up, well, people get raped. Like, not really though. Not really. Now, yeah, a lot of chicks claim rape, but you can't really believe women because they kind of lie, like, all the time. Okay? And here, this is going to be a hot take. Women like to claim rape because they want people to think that a man would throw their life away for this hot body. And I've seen some chicks that claim they got raped. I'm like, no way somebody's going to rape you. You are fucking ugly. You are shit gross, dude. But they like to say stuff like that. Also, if like a chick is a slut and she bangs a dude at a party, let's say, and then people start ragging on her for being a slut, she's going to be like, oh, I got raped. And then that guy is going to get thrown out of his college and he'll be like, what the fuck did I do? Not knowing that he's going to get accused of rape. So all that money he borrowed for college, he's still got to pay that back. And he doesn't get any. No. You can't just say you got raped. All right. You can't just say you got raped and then everybody believes you because you have to believe all women because a woman has never lied in her entire life. And you are just a bigot for thinking women lied. Okay. Whatever then. Fine. Everyone gets raped all the time. Literally every day. All the time. Everywhere. What kind of society? Like, do you want to have kids? Why don't you just put a gun in your mouth right now? If you can't even walk outside without getting raped by like a mile-long line of men, what are you doing? What are you doing that you're putting yourself in this situation where you're so easily raped all the time? Honestly, I want to know. This is America. You can have a gun. There's a million ways that you can defend yourself. And the easiest way is just don't go out and get hammered at some random party with a bunch of dudes. I feel like that's like a number one way to do that. That's like a number one way to do that. But I don't even think you get raped there. I think you just get a little loose and then start banging a bunch of people. And then you're all like, oh, I just got raped. I'm not a slut. I just got like violently raped. And yeah, I guess I'm just super hot.
Another major
Okay,
problem with
bitch.
this study is that, at least for the data they showed on Vox, they don't separate out the different types of parents. So if you are a single mother, you are in the same group as the two-parent household. Well, of course single mothers are going to report less happiness than non-parents. Does your happiness gap disappear if you exclude single mothers from the group? They already suggested that the destruction of the traditional family is making parents less happy, so I think if this study were more honest, we'd be seeing different results.
I gotta say, I look at this data and I think to myself, yikes. And then I think,
Yikes.
I probably still want kids. Like, it's such a weird.
Well, you're pretty, okay? And you probably have access to some pretty decent guys. So you probably should have kids because you're going to be able to land a guy that probably makes decent money and you're going to get to stay at home and be a stay-at-home mom. And then that's like the dream fucking life. Dude, that's like the dream. All you have to do is just sit around at home and like make food and play with your kids all the time. Oh, boo fucking who. I'm so sorry. That sounds like it sucks. Ugly chicks don't want kids because they know they're probably going to have to work. They're probably going to end up single moms because they're not going to get a guy good enough to actually take care of them like that. I mean, it's true. I understand how this could be hurtful and offensive and stuff like that. But I'm not, this is the show.
Why?
Yeah, why would you still want to have kids? Haven't we told you it's terrible enough? At this point, Vox actually does something good. The next scene talks about the fertility window.
Strawberry says, very true. Same thing with cheating. Don't put yourself in that situation with the opposite sex and things won't just happen. Yeah, come on. Fucking just it just happened, right? Yeah, it just happened. Really? like step after step. Like there's a lot of steps that involve it just happening, right? There's a lot of decisions that went into, like, a lot of very stupid decisions that led up to that just happening. I don't believe it. I just don't. I just don't believe it.
Fox takes the time to point out that women don't have forever to have kids, which is quite impressive considering how much feminists typically lie about the fertility window.
What do you feel like are the biggest misconceptions that you hear about the relationship between fertility and age?
That you have all the time in the world. With time, fertility does go down. Your mid to late 20s is
Fecundability is what it's called. Yeah, and it does drop precipitously. But I feel like that's, I don't want to beat a dead horse because I feel like everybody knows that, right? They don't tell you that in like high school and stuff. They tell you that at any age you're going to be able to have sex once and then immediately conceive a child and then carry that child to term. And it's not until you get your life in order and you're married with a house and you're 35 years old, and then you're like, okay, I'm finally ready to try for a kid. And then you're 36 years old. And then you're 37 years old and you're still trying. And then, one of these days, then you're 38. And then you're like, what the fuck is happening? You got lied to. You got bamboozled. Right? You might have been fertile if you hadn't gotten that shot. You might have been fertile in your, from the age of 16 to the age of 34 or something like that. You're probably pretty fertile. But when you push it further and further back, nature is only going to, give you so many handouts, right? Every month you have failed. And so after, let's say, hundreds of months, nature's like, fuck it. All right, fine. Whatever. You get the dregs, right? Whatever I have left, I'm putting out there. That's what you get. And sometimes it just doesn't work. Even if everything's checked off and fine. All right.
It's actually when you're most fertile. It's about 15 to 25%. That can decrease to the mid-30s.
She said you're most fertile at like 25 to 27, which I'm not even sure is actually true. I think it's probably closer to 23 or even younger than that. Remember, human beings have been like, usually you'd have a kid by the time you were like 15 or 16. Back in the Middle Ages and stuff like that, you would have kids pretty young because that's just what you did, and it was very normal. But she says late 20s is probably when you're most fertile. That is the end of your most fertile window, though. I mean, yes, you are most fertile, but that is a window, and that's when your fecundability actually starts to wane.
30s to about 10 to 15%. And unfortunately, over about age 42 to 44, it can be less than 2%.
Did you hear that? If you have...
So 20%. So chance of pregnancy each cycle. So each month you have a 20% shot of getting pregnant at the ages of... that's 20 to 24. Okay, yeah. So, and then it goes down 25 to 29, and then 10 to 15% when you're at 35. So that's still a decent shot. If you try for a year, you're probably going to get pregnant. And then you go to 44 and it's like 2%. That's just like, it's probably not happening. I mean, it might, there is a shot, but it's probably not happening.
Kids in your mid-30s as opposed to mid-20s, your fertility almost gets cut in half. And if you wait until your 40s, then good luck. That's not the only thing you have to worry about when you party all through your 20s and hope to have kids after 35. You also open the door to genetic abnormalities. In this next clip, they visually represent the chances of abnormalities with different color eggs. You can ignore that because they just end up saying the percentages anyway. This scene is kind of long, so I have to cut it. They start.
Strawberry says they want women to believe it's totally fine to have kids at 40 plus so they can push the powerful woman in the workplace feminist agenda, thereby reducing the population rate. Yeah, it's 100% true. That is 100% true. And not only that, they're also making it financially much more difficult than it was, let's say, in the boomer era. One man in the boomer era could work at a gas station and easily support 5 or 6 kids. He can have 2 cars and a house, and it wouldn't even be an issue. But these days, both adults need to work. Both adults need to work very hard, well into their late 30s, just to have the dream of having a house. And you need to have a house before you have kids. Where are you going to put the kids, right? In an apartment? No one wants to do that. No one wants to do that. And so they're all like, well, I learned my entire life that I can have kids at 40 plus. And it's true. It is. You can. It's extremely unlikely, but they don't tell you that part. They don't tell you that it's extremely unlikely that you're going to have a kid naturally at 40 plus. You can have IVF and stuff like that at 40 plus. But even then, if you have 40-year-old eggs, it is a crapshoot. That is a gamble, right? For your eggs decline, right? The best ones come out early. The best ones come out early, right? Once you start getting past 35, 40 years old, they only have, they got the ones they got, okay? And if you get one of those kids, maybe it'll be okay, but maybe it won't. I think, hold on, he's going to give some stats.
Start out at 10% chance of genetic abnormalities. These can include things like Down
Mr. Blue says I should not have kids. Yeah, I agree with Mr. Blue. But most people should, but not Mr. Blue.
Syndrome. But I believe the fertility expert was saying that these will most likely end up as miscarriages as opposed to a birth with genetic defects. The shocking numbers come out when they hit the late 30s.
But around age 37 to 38, the chances of having a pregnancy with chromosomal abnormalities is almost 50%. That's a number that's very shocking to people, but as
50% chromosomal abnormalities like Down syndrome or some sort of just bad sperm. It's just a bad one. Just a bad one comes out, right? You just got a lumpy one, right? You had your kid at 37, and yeah, there was a chance that you were going to have an okay one, but he came out lumpy. Like a 50% chance of him coming out lumpy. You got a lumpy one. So that's it. That's it. And that lumpy one is probably not going to propagate your line into the future. I'm just saying. Maybe he'll hook up with some other lumpy girl, and then they could have normie kids. I don't know. I don't know. Can Down syndrome people have a normal kid? They can, can't they? They can, yeah. 2 midgets can have a normal sized person, which is probably hilarious, which is probably really funny. Because what if 2 midgets have a son and he's like 6'4" and they're like trying to punish him and he just like kicks them and stuff. It'd be funny.
As we advance in age over 42, the chance gets quite high. It's now over 80%.
Mr. Blue says, I don't even think I'd make lumpy tard babies. I'd just be a terrible dad. Well, that and they'd be like you, Mr. Blue. So, I mean, maybe not lumpy and tarded, but blue. They'd be blue. Which maybe if you had the right girl, then they wouldn't come out like you. That's a chance. Maybe you should, Mr. Blue, give it a shot. Give it a shot. And I don't think it'll come out lumpy or tarded or anything like that, but coming out like you, I don't need any more mods in my chat. There's already enough retards that are mods in my chat. But if you do have one, send them on over. I'll make them a mod.
You don't have forever, ladies. After this, the fertility doctor says some unnecessary racist crap about fertility clinics. There is a disparity in racial access to fertility.
Thought says there's a big difference in chances at 35 and 40. Good chance of being pregnant at 35. Good is a relative. But that's not when you should start trying for a family. Yeah, she's absolutely right. If you want to start trying for a family, late 20s, maximum. I mean, honestly, late 20s, early 20s are better. Early 20s are better because you're going to have a good shot at having viable offspring at that age, and then you have enough time to have plenty more. Not only that, the pregnancy is very hard on women's bodies. It takes everything from a woman's body to make a baby. Like, if the baby is lacking in something, it's just going to extract it from the mom, right? It will leave her with nothing. It would rather leave the mom with no calcium in her body than the baby with even a slight lack of calcium. Everything is going into that baby. This could be a good thing or a bad thing. Like in Chernobyl, pregnant women that were infected or affected by radiation, their offspring absorbed basically 100% of the radiation in their bodies, and it saved the mother's life, but it killed the children, the unborn children in the body. So it could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, the younger you are, the easier and the safer it's going to be. The carrying the pregnancy and then delivering. I mean, they call it labor for a reason. It's a lot of work.
Fertility clinics and people of color are being oppressed. Well, duh, there's a disparity. Fertility treatment.
Despite what you've heard, it says being a mod on this channel is a sacred thing. It doesn't just get handed out carelessly. Do I seem like a careless person? No, of course not. Of course
it's
not.
Expensive.
Everything is planned. Everything is planned and divined far out into the future, and I got a handle on this.
If you look at household income charts, certain races make more money than others. Oddly enough, these income levels coincide almost perfectly with the rates of single motherhood in those communities. Asians have the lowest single motherhood rate and have the highest median household income. So, if you have access to more money, then you're going to have access to more resources. Why?
I mean, he didn't even need to say that, right? If you have more money, you have more money. No shit. What? Of course. Of course. If you have more money, you have more access to resources. What a stupid thing to say. Yeah, dude. Yeah, we know how money works. We know exactly how money works. You have more money, you have more stuff. Do you need to say that? You didn't need to say that. You didn't need to say that. There's a reason chicks like money. I'm gonna lay that out there. There's a reason chicks like money. And like, don't get me wrong. You shouldn't be with a girl that only likes money. But all women like money. Every last one of them. Right? If you give a chick money, she's not going to be like, no, I don't need, she could be like, okay, yeah, money. Yeah, all chicks like money. But don't date a girl who only wants you for your money, because she's going to be a whore and probably have a terrible personality. So if you ever come into that sort of situation, just letting you know. For girls, I don't know. If you have money, if women have money, men like money too, but like, so what? Do dudes date chicks for money, but like very old, and they're not like trying to establish a family. They're just trying to not work. So it's different for dudes. Women want to establish a family, and you having more access to means and resources is a vital component to that. So I don't blame women for liking money, not even a little bit. That's just a normal thing.
Why Vox decided to bring race into this, I have no idea, because this is about money and broken families, not race.
What can we do?
It is now. Strawberry says, my first son at 30, second at 35. Absolutely agree about how much easier it is to conceive at earlier age from my experience. So you conceive naturally? That's like, I mean, if you don't want to answer that, you're perfectly welcome not to answer that. Because conception and stuff like that, it can be a very touchy subject, especially if some people tried to conceive and then were unable to. Women are extremely sensitive about that. They hold themselves. That's a vital part of their value. It seems like women not being able to conceive is devastating to them, which I don't really understand as a man. because I'm not a woman. So that's just one of those things that I don't really understand. But women who cannot conceive, they're not happy about that. They're quite upset.
Do to reduce those disparities?
I think the first thing we have to do is acknowledge it. We all have implicit biases that govern how we conduct ourselves and how we react to different people and different.
So, Strawberry, you just conceived naturally both times, not monitoring your ovulation or anything like that. Women, they'll monitor their ovulation periods and stuff like that, and they're like, "Oh, well, we have to have sex. We have to have it right now," and stuff like that. Especially if you've been like trying for years and stuff, it becomes a chore. It becomes a chore, and then it's like, okay. Yeah, we can do it here in this elevator right now. I just had lunch, but okay.
Situation. The patients that are visiting fertility clinics tend to be white, female, college educated, and wealthy because that's who can afford the treatment.
Yes, the way we solve this
it's like $30K for IVF or something like that. It's very expensive.
problem is to call everyone racist.
Racism in America would by and large be dead today if it were not for certain people and institutions keeping it on life support.
The fuck does that mean? What the fuck do you mean by that? Racism would be dead if it wasn't for certain people. So are you being racist in this comment right now? You're blaming a certain group of people for being racist. So you're being racist towards a certain class or, let's say, race of people you're being racist. You are now being racist. How is that any different? I'm just asking questions. You being racist right now. And what the fuck do you mean by that? What do you honestly mean by that? That a very small class of people are just making everybody not like each other? So you're telling me if this class of people were to disappear, that black people would stop like doing black people things? You're telling me that? Because that's what I don't like about black people is the black people things they do, right? And the rest of the races. I'm just using them as an example. But remember, I don't like any race, except for my own, right? So what the fuck are you saying, bro? What are you saying? Because racism is not about, we would all live happily together if it wasn't just for those people at the top just using us like puppets. No, that is nonsense, dude. That is complete nonsense. Races don't like each other naturally. That's why they're different races in the first place, dude. That's exactly why they're different races in the first place. Okay? So, shut up.
Very sadly, one of those institutions is the American education system. Putting critical race theory into our classrooms is not combating racism. It's fanning the flames of what little embers are left.
Okay, well, I agree with that. Critical race theory is a bad thing, right? But the public education system as a whole is also a very bad thing. But that's gone. That's been axed. So that's pretty dope. Good. Good. I've been speaking against the public education system for years at this point. I'm glad that shit got axed. I hope everybody got fired. And I think they did. Those school administrators rode around in like Bentleys and shit, and they made like 300, 400K a year. That's a lot of money. And there was a lot of them too. It's not just like one or two people. It was thousands and thousands of school administrators. The teachers weren't making all that money. Every time they raised the budget for education, none of it went to the teachers. None of it went to the students. None of it went to the schools. Every dime went to the administrators. Every dime went to the administrators that did nothing. They just got hired because they were through nepotism or whatever reason, their buddy, nepotism. Every dime went to the administrators, and they got filthy rich off of it. So I'm glad that entire department got axed. Next is the IRS.
You see, they pick this game they can just play forever. Rich people are always going to have access to things that other people don't have access to. I'm not exactly sure how that's unfair, considering that most rich people work insane hours and don't get tons of time to enjoy their stuff.
Dan Snot says nepotism or nephilism? Nephilism. Nephilism. Yeah, I'm gonna say Nephilim. It's the Nephilim. They're coming in and they're banging our women, and then we get the Nephilim, the giants, and yeah, some sort of half god alien angels. That's what it is. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna go with Nephilim.
Stuff anyway.
Probably.
Your race
Nephilim
does
shit.
not prevent you from being rich. If you want to make money, then build a valuable skill that is hard to replicate that not many people.
Mr. Blue says, I think black chicks have 2 G spots. Nah. Nah. No, normal chicks don't even have 1. What are you talking about?
Don't waste your money on garbage or buy things that
That's
you can't
not-
afford.
it's a fucking myth.
Build a savings for emergencies and learn how to invest. You can also move to a place where the cost of living is lower. Paying $3,000
Goofy Boots says, Pessy ended early. Can I hang out in here? I mean, if Pessy says it's okay.
a month for a crappy one-bedroom apartment in San Francisco is ridiculous. Move to a place that's cheaper, or preferably a state that's cheaper. This stuff is not magic or unobtainable. You can do this. These people who are telling you that you can't make a living because of your skin color are not your friends. They're trying to demoralize you.
That's
Who
true.
cares how...
I mean, that's true, dude. I hate the videos. You ever see those videos of like the dad is talking to his black daughter? The dad's black too. It's not like a cuck situation. But like the black dad is like, "Oh, society is built against you. You are an underclass in society." And then it just makes the little girl start to cry because she thinks she's like a slave and stuff like that. That's bad parenting, dude. That's bad parenting. I mean, at least you're there, though. At least you're there. But then you're filling her head with all this shit about how she's never going to make it because she's of her skin color, because she's black. And you know what that's going to do? That's going to make her act out when she becomes a teenager because she doesn't think there's any hope in the first place. That's a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's exactly what that is. Stop doing that. Just go ahead and fucking stop doing that. You know, you don't need to crush a little girl's dreams right off the get-go. You know, stop being an asshole. That's
how difficult it is to become successful. You can still do it.
Hey, Rick.
All this race baiting does is distract people from the issue, which really harms the people who need the most help, because instead of being taught the fundamentals of building wealth, they are taught to call everyone racist. Stop doing that and instead focus on what actually matters, which is your success. One more thing from our lovely fertility doctor.
And so one of the biggest things I personally would wish for is infertility evaluation and treatment to be covered by health insurance universally.
No. As a guy who gets no benefit from that, I'm not paying for some woman to get in vitro when she's 40 because she waited too long to have kids.
So Israel does that. But Israel doesn't pay for it out of their own pocket. American tax money pays for that, right? So it's not here in America where you get IVF for free. And IVF is an expensive procedure. It is just a very expensive procedure. And, you know, but in Israel, it's free. But they don't pay for it. We pay for it. I'm not saying that we should or should not. That's what I'm just saying. Israel gets it for free because we pay for it. That's it.
If you don't want to have fertility problems, then you should have kids when you're young. I don't think the medical insurance system should be used to force people to pay for everyone else's bad decisions.
Here's the thing about the medical insurance industry in general, though. If the government wasn't involved in the medical industry so much, things wouldn't cost an astronomical price, right? You know, it wouldn't cost $700 to see your GP for 5 minutes. It wouldn't cost, you know, a simple procedure wouldn't cost $25,000, right? The reason it costs so much is because they can easily bill the government or an insurance company for that price. And it doesn't matter what they pay because money's not real to them. If the government wasn't involved in the medical industry, it would be like LASIK eye. You know how they do lasers on your eye to fix your glasses. You walk into any shopping mall and pay like $200 an eye or something like that, and then it's fixed. The government is not involved in that, and so it's cheap and it's relatively safe. I don't know about, maybe it's not safe. I haven't heard recent studies on that, but the government is not involved in it. That's why there's something called medical tourism, where people go to Mexico to have surgeries that cost maybe a tenth of the price, as they do in the United States. You're forced to have insurance in the United States simply because the government is already involved, right? If the government is not involved in the medical industry, it would go back to market prices, and then most people wouldn't need insurance, right? This is a conspiracy, right? This is a conspiracy show. This is a conspiracy between the insurance companies and the government and the medical industry as a whole. So yeah, get government out of the medical industry.
Our premiums are already high enough. Now, during this documentary, Vox has shown a few different types of families. They want to make sure that everyone is represented when it comes to parenthood, so we have a single mother of 4.
Oh, I am good. A single mother of 4 daughters. Oh, good, and she's a Muslim. How the fuck are you a single Muslim mother of 4? How does that even happen? Right? Shouldn't you be in a you should be like the 4th wife of some like Saudi billionaire, right? You don't seem like you're that ugly, but there's a lot of makeup. I don't get wearing a burqa or whatever the fuck this is, a hijab or something like that, and then wearing makeup. Isn't the entire point of like people not looking at you lustfully? Why would you wear makeup? Wouldn't that defeat the purpose? I'm just saying. What I'm saying is perfectly accurate too. Why would you do that? The entire point of you wearing all of this is so men don't look at you lustfully. But then you put makeup on and it just defeats the purpose.
There isn't anyone else coming to
who is her owner? I don't know. But he must be dead? I don't know. Maybe her kids are black. I have no idea, dude. I don't see a lot of Muslim single mothers. Thank God. Because I don't see tons of Muslims. When I lived in California, they were everywhere, dude. They were always like walking around. Right? It'd be like some weird Muslim guy, and then his wife and his like a horde of children behind them, and like they would walk around. I'm like, why are you walking around here? There's nothing around here. Nothing here is within walking distance. We are this is a highway 20 miles in between towns. How are you walking? Why are there hundreds of you? I don't get it. But there's millions of them in California. Millions of Muslims in California, dude. It's dangerous.
Share that load with you. But
I don't like Muslims.
These are the girls. These are the girls where if they saw me tear up, they would go fix up a sandwich and they'd be like, hey, do you want to eat something?
All right.
That all sounds...
All right. Okay, well, who muted Rick? And why? What did Rick do? Okay.
Sounds great, but in reality, this single mom is parentalizing her children, which is abuse. You are the parent. The kid should not be taking care of you. You are supposed to...
They don't... Okay, Thought pinned her own message. Or somebody pinned her message and says they don't really have the same rules. They'll wear their titties out and cover their hair. That's weird. I don't know. Maybe.
To take care of them. Unless the father was hit by a bus or something, if your bad decisions put your young children in a position where they have to...
Despite what you've heard says, and Michigan. It's funny because in Michigan, okay, so Muslims, they celebrate this thing called Ramadan. And Ramadan is when you are not allowed to eat or drink anything during the daytime. And during certain years, the daytime in Michigan is very long. And Muslim women typically are pregnant. And during those years, the Muslim women don't eat or drink anything during the day. And who keeps banning everybody? Don't drink anything during the day. And so all those Muslim children turn out retarded because you're supposed to eat when you're pregnant. I know it's crazy, but so they have a real problem with retarded Muslims being born in Michigan. Hilarious, I understand.
To take care of you, then you screwed up. So Vox has shown us a single mom. They show us a plus-size lesbian couple that has a kid, and they showed us a female-to-male transgender person who has a kid. That's a lot of representation.
Who is pocket banning? Who is pocket banning? Who's pocket banning people? Tell me right now. I want to know. Who's pocket banning people? No? I'm going to fucking remove every mod I have. Okay? Because don't pull this shit.
Except
I'm not doing this again.
They didn't highlight couples that actually represent the majority of parents, which are two-parent heterosexual couples.
Is Knobsdog even here?
Propaganda much? Speaking of propaganda,
Knob
we still haven't
isn't
finished talking
even
about
here.
why it's so awful for women to have kids. In this next scene, Cleo and her friend Christoph go rock climbing to discuss...
Huh? I don't know who's banning people. Here, wait, hold on. Hold on. Let me see if I can just... Hold on. I'm going to fucking do it right now. Because it's seriously... I mean, it's like... It's fucking bullshit. And I don't even know who's pulling that shit. But I am going to fucking remove every fucking mod I have. Okay, you can stay. And then until you guys can actually prove that you're not fucking irresponsible as moderators, then...
It was me the whole time.
It might have been you, but that's fine.
It wasn't.
There, I'm removing every mod I have. Okay? Every mod. Every fucking mod. Sorry, I removed you too. It didn't... I know. I understand. I cannot trust you guys. And then I will reintroduce mods as I see fit. Whoever is doing it, if it was you, Knob, you know, it doesn't matter because you gone. It hasn't updated. It will update.
Discuss the wage gap.
So, there's a lot of data that shows that the financial impact
All
of
of
having
you.
a child is
Every one of you. This is fair.
born equally by men and women. So we're going to visualize that.
Let me guess. They're going to find out that women are being oppressed.
It might have been couch surfing. It honestly might have been couch surfing. And, you know, maybe it was. Maybe it was you. And if it was, then whatever. Then you get to ban whoever you want. Yeah.
I'm not sure why they needed data for this when it's obvious that women take a financial hit when they have kids because they want to stay home. I mean, geez, Vox acts like women are being forced into this role that they are voluntarily
It was
choosing.
you, Knob, wasn't it?
Here's the reality. When you want to stay home instead of working,
Of course it
you are
was.
going to make less money.
A 2017 report
Well,
from the U.S.
you
Census
ruined it for
Bureau
everybody,
shows
Knobs Dog. I'm sure you have a long history of doing that. Just like your marriage and just I don't know his background like that, but I'm sure
the impact of having
every
a child
relationship
on men
you've
and
had.
women's earnings among married heterosexual couples. In the first year after having a child, the mother's earnings take a big hit. The father's...
Duh. What does she want to... Why... I don't even know why women... What do you think she's going to do? What do you think she's going to... Women don't even like... Never mind.
Not so much. The female spouse's earnings don't actually recover until the child is around 9 years old.
What a shock.
Arden Cherry says Knob's dog pulled in Israel. Yeah, Knob, what the fuck, man? You can't do that. I mean, now you can't do that.
Women stay home, their
You
careers
could do
suffer.
it before.
You see, the real problem with this whole narrative is that Vox is out there acting like this whole thing is unfair. Just like with the wage gap. No, it's not unfair. You made certain choices. Those choices lead to certain outcomes. If you want to get paid...
Knob says, literally never been a mod in anything and married for 22 years with 4 kids. Well, congratulations for that. This is good, clean fun. Yeah, well, I don't... It was you, Knob. It was you.
as much as men, start working super long hours, and pick up more dangerous high...
It's amazing. People can't... Any power that people get, they're just like... And yeah, I understand why it would be fun to wield power irresponsibly. I can't say I wouldn't do the same. However, I can't trust any of you. Not a one of you. Right? And Knob, you're the first to drink the Kool-Aid. You're the... I mean, that would be an honor, honestly. So maybe you don't get to drink the Kool-Aid at all. And then we just leave you. on this filthy, godforsaken planet. Would you like that, Knob? Would you like to live for another 40 or 50 years as we're all laying down in peace and eternity? I bet you wouldn't. I bet you wouldn't like that at all.
High value jobs instead of picking office secretary, and you'll make the same amount. If you don't want to take a financial hit when you have kids, then find a nice house husband to take care of the kids while you work. Here's the problem, though. Based on their preferences, women don't want stay-at-home dads. Women don't want men who make less money than they do, so stop complaining that everything is unfair. The choices are out there, but you aren't choosing them.
Though her earnings do increase as the child gets older.
All right. Well, I will unmute Ric Flair as soon as I will do that. You can't do that, Knob.
Genders is still
No, you can't do that. If I make you a knob, you can't. If I make you a mod, you can't just ban the people you dislike. That is not what a mod is for. All right. Eat Steak hasn't even come back. Apparently, somebody hurt her feelings, and it was Boston. Boston Buckaroo hurt her feelings. Neither of them have come back. Right. So no more mods. No one gets to be a mod because apparently I work with fucking children here. So no more fucking mods.
Still there by the time that
I
kid
will
is
mod.
officially an adult. One huge factor here is unequal childcare responsibilities. According to the American Time Use Survey, on an average day, women spent more than double the amount of time providing physical care to children than men.
This is another BS thing. For one, when they talk about the disparity in childcare, are they including the households with stay-at-home moms where her job is specifically to take care of the kids? Because if they are trying to say that arrangement is giving her an unfair amount of housework, then that would be very dishonest. Second, we have things like this. Why do I have to do more housework and childcare? I work a job too. Yeah, but you don't bring in nearly as much money as the guy does, so him doing an equal amount of housework and childcare is not fair. And we know women in average households aren't.
I just realized I have hundreds of people muted. I have pages and pages of people muted. Oh, there's Rick. There's Rick. I'm going to go ahead and unmute him. Jesus. You guys, I don't even know who most of these people are. That's probably for a good reason because they're all muted.
Bringing in as much money as man. Because child support and alimony go to the person with...
On the John says, John's just as bad as the rest of us. Yeah. Yes, that is completely accurate.
Less income.
Yeah.
And those
I'm not saying I'm better than any... I'm not saying I'm better than you guys, right? I'm just... That's it. I have no more to say than that. I'm scum like you guys are. What do you want? Yeah.
Exclusively go to women. So if you bring home $40K a year and I bring home $100K a year... We are not equal in salary, therefore I shouldn't have to do an equal amount of housework. As I said, this is almost always the case because the vast majority of women will not date long-term or marry a guy who makes less money than she does. Women by law...
See, this entire thing has been set up to make women make more money so their options of a man dry up, right? It makes men not able to support a family themselves. And then it makes women want to date a man that makes more money than them naturally. And if women are making a lot of money, it automatically cuts their dating pool down to basically nobody. This is not an accident. This is an entire depopulation agenda that's been happening since the 60s at least. Yeah, this is a long-running scam.
Large do not want to financially support men. These are women's preferences. So stop complaining that your salary is not equal to your husband's when you specifically chose that person because he makes more money than you. And propaganda outlets like Vox. Stop telling women that the house situation is not fair. When they talk about house chores, they only count things like laundry and dishes. They very often completely ignore all of the male chores like mowing the lawn, cleaning the rain gutters, lifting heavy things, and fixing stuff when it breaks. Some men are...
You see, when women... Here's the thing. When men live together in a house, like you have roommates and stuff like that, that house is disgusting. It's a disgusting house, and nobody wants to clean anything, and then that's just it. When women live in a house together, it's less disgusting. More things are clean, but then nothing really gets done. unless they bring a man in. But usually they're capable of doing that. Women can kind of convince a man to come over to take out the trash and like do the lawn mowing and stuff like that. Maybe on the promise of sex, but with no intention to deliver. There's a lot of simps out there. So it's less difficult for women to run a house than it is for a group of men to run a house, right? You can invite chicks over to do the dishes, and yeah, I mean, I've seen that. You know, it's definitely possible. It's just less common.
Are still doing housework, and they have to bring in the money. After this, our host Cleo has a conversation with her mom, who is a lawyer, about career choices that she made when she had kids. Here's what they say.
You were prioritizing being at home
and changed jobs to do that.
That's true.
Why was it you who made that choice and not Dad?
Again, with the implication that it's unfair if women have to make any decisions. I did some research, and apparently both of Cleo's parents are lawyers. I don't know why they made their particular decisions because the mom didn't really say. She just kind of blames her company. However, most of the time...
Thought says the money and height thing are like giving trannies all the votes. It's a minority of women who think like that. Like women are only interested in height and money. You only say a minority of women are interested. Well, it's not about that per se, but there are certain things that get your foot in the door, right? Just like women, you're not going to, if a woman's like 40 something years old, she's not going to get her foot in the door because she's just undesirable on the face of it, right? So if a man is like 5 foot tall and broke, he's not going to get his foot in the door. You know, it's not the end all be all kind of situation, but it definitely helps.
Women are the ones who make the career sacrifice because they are making less money, or because it turns out they actually want to be the ones who stay home. Go figure. There are women out there who want to stay home instead of work. I'm sure Vox will still find a way to call that oppression.
Armchair says, I think women say height and money to justify lack of actual prospects. That's actually interesting. Like women are saying that there's no good men out there, but there are actually plenty of good men that just aren't interested in them. That's probably pretty accurate.
Also, there's the biological reality of
and remember, women don't like taking accountability for anything. So it's not that they're just a garbage pile of trash. It's that there's no good men out there. They are desirable and wanted, and they deserve the most. And, you know, they are the epitome of what it means to be a woman and beauty incarnate and all of that. However, there are just no good men out there. That's it. They are perfect and God's gift to men. But, you know, there are no good men. So, and it's not their fault. It's not their fault. Never their fault.
Things like breastfeeding.
It's never their fault.
And the fact that very young children need to be around their mothers all the time and don't really need all that much from the dad until they're around age 5.
Yeah, well, you can suss out your environment a bit. There were no
Critical Thought says, I personally think it's a little gay when a man can cook. I prefer a man who would be limited to PB&J without me. Here's the thing. When me and Jess started dating, I could cook decently. I could cook fairly decently. Now that we've been married for several years, I can't cook worth shit. I can't do it because I never do it. Just never do it. I can make a quesadilla. I can make a mean quesadilla. That's it. That's it. I don't cook at all. I don't cook at all. 100% of my meals come from Jess. And I just don't cook at all. And that's it. I have no interest in cooking, and I'm not going to do it. I'll barbecue once in a while. That's fine. But I don't cook. No, that's her job. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. And yeah, I'm limited to PB&Js now.
women who were associates, who had babies, who had gone on to make partner. I should have learned from that.
I
don't know how law firms work. How many partners are at a law firm? Are there hundreds of partners, or is it just like 2 people that are partners? What is there any lawyers in my chat? I highly doubt that, because I don't like lawyers. I'm not a big fan of doctors either. I think doctors and lawyers are both scum entitled assholes, and they hurt people for money.
I think that's fair to put on yourself. It really
so I doubt there's much higher education. I mean, you might be highly educated, but you know, and not to say you're necessarily a bad person if you are a doctor or a lawyer, but successful doctors, successful lawyers, they really have to bend their morals to do that. Successful doctors who make a lot of money, push pills. That's what they do. They push pills, they push vaccines. Lawyers who make a lot of money break up families, change laws, screw over neighborhoods. There's a long list of shitty things that lawyers do.
We position this as an individual choice. Like the other option is your law firm could have supported you more.
I don't even know what a paralegal is. Is that like a lawyer that like parachutes into places? I have no idea.
Yes, and they were not prepared to do that.
No, it's not a company's job to pay you for not working. It's also not fair when it comes to promotions to get preferential treatment because you decided to have kids over someone who didn't, who has put a lot more hours and effort into the company.
Knob says, ha ha ha, lawyers in here? Yeah, I don't think there is lawyers in here. I just don't. My clientele is on the lower end of the IQ scale. Okay? I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for you guys. This is the dum-dum group.
If you don't want to make those kinds of sacrifices,
dum-dum group.
then don't have kids. Life is about sacrifice. You cannot get everything you want, and you have to make choices. That's one of the lies that feminists have sold to women.
Arden Shara says, I think a paralegal is a lawyer without arms and legs. That makes the most sense to me. That makes the most sense to me. There you go. That's pretty funny.
You can't have everything. That's not how real life works. In real life,
Critical Thought hates this guy. And I mean, it's funny how much you can tell from somebody by the tenor of their voice. Isn't it? A guy or a girl, you can actually surmise a lot about that person through just how they sound. Whether they have like higher testosterone or whether they're a man masquerading as a woman or if they're small or something like that. Women especially can tell a lot about a man through specifically his voice. It's like, it's a deal breaker for women if it has like a high, he sounds like a kid or something like that. Which this guy kind of does. So I kind of get that. Thought has never seen this individual in her life. So you have no concept of how this man looks, or maybe he's like, 6'5" and fucking chiseled jacked, but he's not. He's not, don't you? Simply from his voice. That's just interesting to me. That's just interesting.
Moms can't do it all. The kids of two working parents get thrown into daycare, and mom is never there for things like soccer practice because she's at work. If you don't want that kind of life, then...
Thought says I can hear that he sleeps with his mouth open. That's also interesting. People that sleep with their mouth open actually have lower IQs. They get 20% less oxygen circling to their brain. And if it's chronic and happens for years, it can actually change your facial structure. It'll like recede your jaw and stuff like that. And it'll make you stupid. Not that you were stupid from the get-go. It's just you're not using your nose. And so it makes you stupid. Weird, right?
Don't work a career. Or do the obvious thing, which is be a lawyer after your kids grow up. As I've said many times before, women almost always pick careers that you can do until you're like 70. But for some reason,
they don't pick careers where you have to you're laying tarmac or you're cleaning out sewers or stuff like that. It's so funny how women, when they get into the workforce, they don't want to do like the actual working part, right? You don't see a lot of like underwater welders that happen to be chicks. Maybe there is one, but I doubt that many. No, they always want to be the lawyer or like the politician or somebody who's in an air-conditioned office that if they're on their period and they feel bad, they don't have to wrestle a boar to the ground or, butcher a cow or, pick up trash. There's a few trash ladies out there. I've never seen one, but I've heard of them. And I imagine they are ugly as sin. But I've heard that they exist.
Are so insistent on burning up their childbearing years to get ahead. It doesn't make any sense. The last thing that Vox does is make a plea for socialism by showing this chart and saying, it's so unfair that women have to pay for childcare.
You don't. You don't. My wife doesn't have to pay for childcare. I handle all of our bills. She does not work. She stays with our kids all day long. You don't have to pay for childcare. You choose to pay for childcare. Right? Even if you are in a situation where you don't have a lot of money and you work and your husband works, you don't have to work. You can cut back. You can cut way back, right? It might not be fun. It might not be like the best thing in the world for you, but it will be the best thing in the world for your kids. I'm just saying, you don't need to pay for childcare. Find a man that will pay for the childcare. They're out there. They are out there.
Wow. Paying for your own things. Imagine a world where people paid for their own things instead of forcing the net taxpayers to pay for everything. I also noticed something that's missing from this chart, which is the percentages of men's earnings.
Mr. Blue says, damn it, now I can't ignore his annoying voice. And yeah, now, like, that she mentions it, it's very, it's grinding. It is. It's a bad voice to have. But, I mean, this channel is specifically about how feminism ruined the world and how women specifically are entitled and essentially useless beyond their childbearing years. So his voice is a little fitting. I think he might be a little bit bitter. I don't think he got laid a lot. Maybe he's getting laid now. I don't know. I don't know the guy. But it's kind of fitting for the channel. He's not stupid. He's not stupid. He doesn't seem stupid. He makes good points. But yeah, I don't think he's peak masculinity.
Earnings spent on childcare. I guess men don't matter to Vox.
Women have a sixth sense about that shit. They can smell a beta through like, a brick wall. It's amazing. And I mean, men kind of have a similar sense when it comes to women. I mean, we absolutely do. We absolutely do. So yeah, you're probably right on the money, Thought.
Their argument here is that if people had more support from the government, which means the net taxpayers, then they'd be more likely to have kids. However,
Nomstock says, we literally planned for my wife to be home until the kids were older, and now she's back working. You're the one with 4 kids. That's good. Excellent. You could not have done a better decision. That's exactly what you should do. That's exactly what you should do. Leave the wife home, and then you go work. It's much better coming home to like a hot meal and like, a reasonably clean house than coming home and then having to do a bunch of chores after work. Cause it's just, you can't focus on like what you had to do. You're exhausted and shit like that. It's easier to make more money when a wife is at home dealing with the nitty gritty of home life. Okay. If it's that sexist, I don't give a shit. Okay. It just is. All right. It just is. Now, can a man be in that same position? Yes, but he's going to do a worse job. That's just not what we're programmed to do. We're not like nurturers like that. We're going to be not as good. Not to say there aren't good fathers out there. There's wonderful fathers. It's just fathering is a different thing than mothering is. They're different jobs. They're different jobs. Men are not going to be as tidy. Men, when my kid scrapes his knee, I'm not the one running over to say, oh, are you okay? I'm all like, yeah, rub some dirt in it. You're fine. Let's go. It's a different job. You need 2. You need both of them, right? There's a reason for that.
If you look at the birth rates for these countries on the right, where they get the most support, versus on the left, where they get the least support, the countries that get less government support have a significantly higher average birth rate than the countries who get more government support. If Vox is going to say that these things correlate, then they would have to come to the opposite conclusion that they made in the video, because the data shows that government handouts are bad for birth rates.
Okay, so let's look at these. Okay. This is a lot of countries, so this is a good generally the birth rates. Look at the right side of the graph. It is the average birth rate is 1.53. And then the left side, it's 1.9. Both are below replacement. Both of them. So if anybody ever gives you that, oh, the world's overpopulated shtick, slap them and call them fucking retarded. The entire world is a below birth rate replacement. Replacement is 2.1. That's replacement. 2.1 kids. You have one to replace you, one to replace your wife, and then every 10th family has an extra kid just to replace, I don't know, a stupid one that runs into traffic or something like that. You know, it happens. So that is it. 2.1 kids is replacement. It would be better if it was like 3 or 4 or something like that. Then we'd have a growing population. But the world is not overpopulated, and there is a population collapse going on right now. Anybody who says the world is overpopulated has been watching too much CNN or Vox or whatever bullshit, and they bought into it. And they probably don't have kids. So they're fucking stupid. I'm not saying you're stupid if you don't have kids. But if you buy into the bullshit propaganda and agenda, then yeah, you're kind of stupid.
So moral of the story, pay for your own stuff. Last, we have Cleo saying this.
The truth is, I'm not going to be making this decision based on statistics.
Big B says, combined population of Montana, North Dakota, and South Dakota isn't even 3 million. There's room. Yeah, if you want to live there. No thanks. It's cold.
I'm going to be making this decision based on my own feelings and my own family and my own potential family.
True.
Potential family.
People generally make decisions based on feeling and not statistics.
You know, when chicks are like this, when they're like, you know, in their mid to late 20s and stuff like that, and they talk about potential family and they think they have like a lot of time and stuff like that. You don't have time, bitch. Get rocking. Get rocking. Get rocking. You know, if you want a family, do it.
That's a very important thing to know if you're going to try to convince people. You can't just cite numbers. While you should cite numbers, you also need to cater to emotion to actually convince people. Which is also why, in terms...
Dan Snot says we can start an ethno-state in Oregon. Have you ever been to Oregon? You ever been to Portland? Have you been to Portland? No, thank you. No fucking thank you.
The overall mood, Vox has...
They're assholes. They are assholes in Portland. In Seattle, too. Assholes, dude. They suck. And it's covered with homeless people. They're all doing drugs. And they're fucking just douches. They're just douches.
Presented a completely...
Again, not all of them, but I speak in generalities here, right? Everyone can have an example of somebody who's not a douchebag that lives in Seattle. I don't care. I really don't care, right? I speak in generalities. That's why I'm such a racist.
Negative view of kids to women. It started out with, we have data that shows that kids make you
hit
miserable.
the like if you please.
Then it went on to, there is
If you
not enough
want.
fertility support for women of
Do
color.
it.
Then it was, women who have kids can't go as far in their careers. And last, they said, the net taxpayers aren't giving you enough of their money so that you can have an easy time raising kids. Every major point that Vox made was...
Art and Chair says Glass, Portland, and startup. So in so in Oregon, in South Oregon, and like East Oregon, they're cool. They're cool. But like Portland and like Eugene,
skewed towards convincing women to not have kids. There was not one act in this show dedicated to the benefits of having kids. There were a couple of people in the show who said they liked their kids, but those were only fleeting examples versus the majority of the video that told women to not have kids. Then, after saying that Cleo was going to make an emotional decision, it ends off with several people telling everyone to not have kids.
There's so many things that can give you purpose, not just being...
Critical Thought says we should appropriate it like Gaza. Call me uninformed. What the fuck it happened with Gaza and the Trump thing? What went on with that? Did Trump say he was just going to like move in and grab Gaza? I caught some wind of it. I didn't catch the whole thing. Yeah. We shouldn't be involved in that conflict, period. We shouldn't be supporting Israel. I don't give a shit about the Middle East. I don't give a shit about the Middle East. All right? Glass the whole fucking region for all I care. I don't give a shit about the Middle East. Israel, Palestine, I don't give two hot fucks about them. Egypt, Saudi Arabia. I don't live in those places. I don't know people in those places. I don't care about those places. Okay? Greatest ally, my nutsack, dude. No. No, sir. No, thank you.
Yeah, parents.
If you want to know what propaganda looks like, here it is. Things like this are how a bunch of news outlets got women to believe that being a stay-at-home mom is...
I've been to Israel, too. And it's another place. And it's overpriced. Everything is overpriced. Way overpriced. And like, I don't know. They seem fine. I didn't spend much time there. I've been there, though.
Expensive, and kids should be left at daycare instead of being taken care of by their parents. Feminism's next goal to destroy people's mental health is to get rid of people's desire to have kids, which in reality is not about happiness.
This is not a mental health thing. It's not trying to make, oh, we want you to have the happiest life. That's all we want. We just want you to be happy. That's why we want you not to have kids. Oh, but you're having kids though, right? You want to repopulate the earth with your people, but not people like us. Is that what it is? That's exactly what it is. Don't you fucking lie to me, right? You know, you may convince a bunch of idiots, but no, not old Sulkster over here. Not the Sulkamania. Don't call me that. Thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being you. Thanks for listening to my nonsense rants. And I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed the show. Hit the like button if you don't mind. And, you know, I hope you guys have a great night. I'll be back on Daywave tomorrow and then right back here on the Sulk stream tomorrow night. And, yeah. Try to have kids. Don't buy into the propaganda, dude. Don't buy into the propaganda. They're fucking lying to you. They're trying to eliminate you. That's all it is. They're just trying to eliminate you. And they have been for decades. Centuries, maybe. You don't know how far back it goes. It probably goes pretty far back. Anyways, guys. I hope you guys have a great night. Stay cool. Stay strong. Make me proud. Be good cultists. And until I see ya, drink some water. Get a good night's sleep. Take care of yourselves, because I care about you too. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Love you. Good night.
I'm an incredible soul, unhinged and enraged like a bulldog's fist growl. I'm spitting fire, burning through these trees, questioning the world, unraveling conspiracies. Talking about Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster too. Government lies, they're feeding me their goo. I'm diving deep into this rabbit hole, uncovering the truth, setting fire to their control. I got small nipples, but my voice is loud, roaring like thunder in this crazy crowd. They say I'm crazy, but I call it woke. Unraveling the madness with every word I spoke.